I'm Brady Peterson. Welcome back to another podcast. We're filming our first one today. I'm with DeAndre Saxon, the one, the only. And today we're talking about mindset and how it is in everything in business and your personal brand. So, DeAndre,
Let's do it.
let's get started. Tell me about your mindset when you first started business compared to now.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I got started in business when I was 19 years old in network marketing. I think that's one of the best businesses to get started. Is it the best business model in general? No, but when it comes to personal development, definitely think it is. So when I was 19 years old, man, I just wanted to drive a Ferrari.
Yeah.
To be honest, that was my motivation. I never had ideas of hitting 30K months, 50K months. Like that wasn't really a thing to me at 19. I just knew that I wanted to develop to become the best version of myself, that there was books, mentorships, and opportunities to do that. And man, I busted my butt a long time working hard in those first, I would say, 3 years of business. And I thought working hard because we were taught that working 12-hour days and all that, going door to door. For those of you in door to door sales, I was doing network marketing, going to malls and getting 10 names and numbers a day. I was doing that. You know, granted, I became one of the top recruiters in the state, but the money didn't result with that. So where I was at 19 and now almost 10 years later, I'm 28, is a massive shift, you know, and just experiencing how much I've invested in myself, you know.
For sure. Especially with those kids, like anyone who has these ideas of going into business and they have the ideas, they just need to get started. They just need to dive straight in. What would be your advice to kids who are like 13, 14, who have these ideas, they have the ambition, they want to go after it, but they don't know where to start?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my younger brother's 19 and I'm trying to guide him and he's just not listening to me. And I'm like, bro, like I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into mentorship for people to teach me these things that I'm giving to you for free. So one thing is when people pay, they pay attention. Sometimes you can have an older brother right now, an uncle or father that's in business, but you got to take that information and actually apply it. That's the biggest difference. So getting started, if I was 13 to 15, man, YouTube University, almost every business that I've started was on YouTube. When it came to the nitty gritty, how to build a funnel, how to set up an email campaign, how to build a personal brand, most of that stuff I learned on YouTube. But when it came to like higher level stuff, that's when I would hire a mentor. So I think it comes down to those two things. YouTube has everything. Now, don't buy everybody's course that's on YouTube because most of the time they're going to be selling a course. But most things of like tech, mindset you can find on YouTube, start there, especially when it comes to research, guys. When you're starting a business, this comes down to understanding who you are. And now at 13, 15, 16, 19, however old you are right now watching this, that's difficult. Like I'm 28 years old and I'm still figuring that out. But it's always a constant journey because as you develop, the same version of you at 19 is different when you're 29, different versions, right? But what you want to kind of get a baseline is like what is important to you? What are your values? For example, do you value family? Do you value travel? Do you value money? Do you value time? Impact? Like what are these things? Now you probably value all of those things I mentioned, but at what degree? So for example, I value travel more than say seeing my grandparents every week. Now my grandparents raised me, so it's like your parents and my parents in the case, but I love my grandparents, but I value travel more. I'll go travel for 9 months out of the year. Like I'd say 70% of the year I live outside of the country.
Yeah.
Here I live in Colombia, Panama, Mexico. I've lived out. So I value that more than having to come home every month or something like that. So that's an example of like balancing, like what are your values? So now that you have these values in place and how do you form your values? I'm just going into that. It's just what do you like, what do you don't like? And then what are certain times where you would like to invest your time? Okay. So now that you have this kind of base, you can start to figure out what business model you would go from there. So for example, I can talk about myself. So I value people. I enjoy people. I love being around them. I love mindset. I love talking. I like networking. For those of you that are like introverts, you're probably like, what is this guy talking about? I'd rather be at a social or a party than be by myself at the house. Now, I'm totally comfortable being by myself. I've been in this space now. But if I had a choice between being home and reading a book on a Friday night or being at some social meeting brand new people, I'd rather be at the social and just light up, right?
Yeah.
But so what that would do now is put me in a position where I'm not doing e-com, right? That's selling products and services versus in the coaching space. I gravitate more towards coaching, consulting, seminars, events, and live things versus e-com or Forex trading, which I've tried all of those. I can't sit at the Forex table at the table and trade Forex because I'm like, dude, this is boring. Where I'd rather just sit like on a podcast like this and meet with people and just invest and stuff like that. So To summarize that in a quick sentence is understanding who you are. If you're young, that's totally fine. Go out and try things, see what you like, what you don't like, and do some research on different business models that align with that value. And then from there, you can say yes or no. But just starting at YouTube to be able to understand those, YouTube University, and then hiring a mentor to take you to the next level. That's what I would tell myself if I was 16.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many like free stuff you can just go out and do research on. Like if you just have, say you want to do digital marketing or social media marketing or any of those little niches, you can just go out, Google on YouTube, Google ChatGPT, and literally any single source, do a little research and just dive right into it. That's exactly what I did when I was 16, when I started social media marketing. I watched maybe 2 YouTube videos, saw a TikTok video. I was like, I want to do this. Yeah. So I just kept making phone calls. So I landed my first client and realized that, hey, yeah, there's money here, but this is also something that's free. It's something I want to do. It's something I'm interested in. And I'm the same as you. I love going out with people. I love being around people, being in the environment. And social media marketing is exactly that, because you have to be around people to market, of course. And yeah,
it's funny you say that. That was my first business I started. That was by myself. So I did 2.5 years of network marketing. That was the only way to do it. And then I left. I was broke for 2 years. Yeah. And then the very first business was 2018, right after the Ty Lopez era. By the way, I'm 28. So if you guys know Ty Lopez, he had a big blowing up between like 2016 to 2018. He was massive. But that's when social media marketing was a whole thing. This is before like Iman Gadzhi and all these guys, right? But yeah, I started a digital marketing agency running ads for local tattoo shops, yoga shops, and boxing places in Miami, going door to door. I knew for every 21 businesses that I walked into, one would become a client. So every 2 or 3 days I would get a client, and just scaled up that way. So I know exactly how that is, you know?
You just have to go out, get like what I do. I go to open houses, just talk to real estate agents, because my niche for social media marketing is every real estate agent. I just keep going out, walking to open houses, dropping off my cards, and eventually you'll get a phone call and you end up closing the client. And that just gives you fuel to keep on going. And that's kind of where, backtracking, like my mindset was like, don't let anything stop you. Mm-hmm. People will say no, people will keep hating, people will try to tear you down, but I always persevered through every single obstacle I have and currently have. I'm fighting through stuff right now that I didn't know I had last week. And you just have to keep going. There was no end.
That's definitely admirable, especially at your age. What I've learned also trying to teach my brother is you can't teach hustle. Yeah. Like I've been a hustler, like since I was 19, just figuring out businesses versus my brother. I'll sit him and by the way, like for context, like if I have clients who will pay me 25 grand for 3 months and I work with them twice a month. Right. And I'll do this for free for my brother, and investing hours upon like helping him do stuff, but you just can't teach hustle. I believe that even when hiring people, you get the hustlers, you hire attitude and the skills you can train. So as long as you're a hustler, what's a hustler? Guy that has tenacity. You don't quit. You're learning and being resourceful. Tony Robbins says being resourceful. I think that's one of the most important things. It's like all you need right now in 2024, a laptop, Wi-Fi, phone, Instagram, and you can run a 7-figure business.
Exactly.
If you can put those two together by just maybe getting some information together, like we just said in the prior segment, that's all you need to go out there and build it. I don't care if you're 16 years old. And for those of you that have limiting beliefs around your age, that has nothing to do with it. Guys, when I was 20 years old, 21 years old, I had people pay me $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in retainers because I had more knowledge than them. Guys, here's the first rule of business, regardless of age. For those of you struggling right now with, oh my gosh, I'm only 19 or 18 or 20, that has nothing to do with it. At 24 years old, I was earning 6 figures a month teaching mindset. What does a 24-year-old know about mindset and stuff? Yeah. But I had it. Why? It comes down to what problem are you solving? Are you running an agency or whatever business that you're running? But we'll stick on agency. Are you running an agency to help people run Instagram ads? If some 16-year-old who has results, who's built a brand, who knows how to come here, look at my business and say, hey, this, and this, and with a free audit, I don't care if he's 16 years old, because at the end of the day, in 2024, people hire for results. Yep. We don't care about age. We don't care about degrees and all this kind of stuff. We want results. If you're 16 or 60, if you can get somebody a result, they will hire you and you can build the income to whatever level that you want. So never let that limiting belief, oh, my age or my experience, because even then, like, you only need to be a few steps ahead of your customer. So if you're going to go to stick with the agency model, if you're going to go to a local coffee shop, for example, and you want to run their TikTok account, the owner probably knows a little bit about TikTok, but if you go and spend 2 weeks understanding every aspect of TikTok, organizing into a document to the point that you can have a coherent conversation for 30 minutes about it, that owner will realize that you know more about that subject than he does. And all you do is take a weekend, maybe 2 weeks to sit there and learn it and organize it. And with that alone, he's going to be like, you know what? This 16-year-old guy knows more than I do about TikTok. Here's $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, depending on whatever cash flow you're bringing him. Yeah. That's the most important thing right there. I wanted to address that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And like I have personal experience with that too, because like age doesn't really matter whatsoever. When I was 16, I was going to businesses and saying, hey, I want to run your ads. I want to do all this. They're like, who's this guy? And I had to prove myself that, hey, I have these results of past clients. I've been doing marketing for a year already. And I know that's not a long time in like marketing, but you learn fast. If you dive into something and you full on commit yourself to it, learning how to run ads, learning Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all those niches, people will trust you with the brand. And I learned that. Now I'm close to maybe 25, 30 clients, probably more, honestly.
Nice.
And I built up a reputation of getting stuff done. Our content is the best in real estate. We know how to run our ads. We know how to get you results. We have ROI that's proven. And I'm 18. There's no limit. And people will go to 4-year colleges saying, hey, yeah, we're going to make six figures after getting a 4-year degree. And yeah, like, of course, if you're going to be becoming a doctor, dentist, any of those specific niches, I recommend do get a degree, because we need you to know what you're doing. But if your passion is business and you have an online thing you want to try out, or even if it's like a pressure washing business, because I did that too.
I've heard of those guys.
Go door to door, make some door hangers, get some stuff done, and charge like $400, $500 per client, and close out 10 of them. That's $4,000 a month.
Yeah. So you had 25 clients, but those people that are like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to get started. How was the results for your first client? I think my first client lasted maybe 30 days, 45 days, because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. But by the second or third client, I was locked in with them for 6 months, right? Did you kind of have that kind of experience?
100%. I was learning as I was going.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm still learning stuff. I was like, that's more efficient compared to how I used to run ads. And I was just exploring. When I landed my first client, he worked in real estate. And I was like, yeah, I can come in, show all your content. I had a little gimbal, my little iPhone, just following through the house, doing all that type of stuff. And just learning Facebook ads and pushing out Instagram content as I was going. I was like, okay, I'm learning like algorithms. I'm learning how to shoot content. I was like, you're my first client, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And just you like talk yourself up in some ways to like make them have confidence. And then now I finally built up that actual experience where I can back it with real results. And that's kind of like how my experience was. Yeah.
Guys, don't be afraid of doing work for free. Yeah. I remember everybody wants to hit the 10K months, the 20K, 50K, whatever, depending on whatever your levels are. But even for myself, before I had my first 100K month, I was doing mindset coaching for free. Just the fact that I can get experience teaching, going on podcasts, going on webinars, and going on people's Zoom calls and interviews. I did that for 30 days before the next month I absolutely blew up. And even when I was running agencies or any business model, whether it's coaching, whatever, I always gave away for free. What that did is it built goodwill with my customers. And number two, it allowed me to learn. So when I started my Facebook ad agency, and by the way, the reason I'm talking about this is like, this was something we can relate, but this is for all, I felt at like 10 businesses at this point, right? Before I had a 7-figure business. That I ran ads for free for a local business. I was like, before I got my first paying client, I went to probably 2 to 3, I think it was maybe 3 customers where I would run their ads for free. I was like, hey, and I was honest with them. Hey, I'm just learning how to run ads, but I've taken this program, I've invested this time. This is where your resourcefulness and YouTube University comes into play now. And you're organized, but I'll run this all for free. I'm planning on charging $2,500 a month for this. But for you, I'll run it completely for free. All I ask you is ad spend. That's it. Yep. An ad spend of $2,000 a month or $3,000, depending on what industry you're in. Coffee shop is different from running ads for real estate, right? Now you can go out there and go get 3 of those clients and do work for free. I was telling my younger brother, 19 years old, He's like, he's working at a grocery store before. I'm like, bro, like, just there's so many businesses you can start. Yeah. He's not tech savvy. I was like, bro, you're freaking. He's like huge, right? He's like a bodybuilder. I'm like, dude, go mow some lawns or something. And I took him down our road where where we live. I'm like, dude, there's $25 an hour right there, 25. And I said, go cut all the whole neighborhood. Go cut them for free. Mm-hmm. And then give them your number and your business card. And then guess what? Grass is going to grow.
Yep.
So in 2 weeks or a month, however long, I live in apartments, guys. So I don't know what grass grows. But when the grass goes, guess what? They're going to come back if you did a good job. Exactly. And his response was, bro, I got to work for free. I'm like, bro, just you can't teach this mindset. You can't teach this thing. Yeah. Like you have to be willing to do some work for free, especially when you're getting started off, because guess what? Everybody starts with a blank square. You have 100,000 followers on Instagram, 1 million followers. They all started from zero. Guys at 100K a month, they all start at zero. Start at zero. Be humble. Get out there and be willing to learn and invest in yourself. Be resourceful and get better every single day by investing in yourself. And guys, it's inevitable, you know, that you're just gonna level up.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And that's where everyone's just scared to do. I was like, I want to make money now. I was like, focus on setting a base on how you're going to scale and starting off free, going off of that. I had a client in Coronado, and that's currently happening right now. Like, I'm running their ads completely for free. They're just covering the hard cost of like maybe $500 a month of just paying for ads to get their brand out. I'm not making any profit on it. I'm just simply doing it mainly because to prove myself and prove to them that, hey, we can do this for you. And at the end of it, we're going to end up closing a client. I'm confident in that. And just working for free is honestly, it's okay. You don't always need to make money right up front. Mm-hmm. Your ROI is going to come in the future if you do it rightly.
Yeah. So I guess you could say there's two ways to work for free. One is to, in an example, if let's just say you're starting a coaching business or something in this, or it's called consulting. Consulting is selling information. Okay. Whether it's Instagram, like you're in consulting. Okay. You're selling your knowledge of running ads for a service, or you can sell as a product, which is coaching. Okay. So there's two ways to work for free. It's either you provide a service, or another way, which is one of the best ways to do it, which I would choose, and I would tell my son, which I don't have right now, I would tell my son to do, is work for somebody who has the experience for free. That's one of the best things you can do. I'll tell you a story of this guy. His name is Artem. So my best friend has a younger brother, 16 years old. Okay, when I met him, I think he just turned 17. Okay, I was looking for a video editor at the time, and I was like, hey man, like he was all right. Like he was nothing like too crazy, but the other video editors I wasn't looking to hire either. So I was like, you know what? Come in here. Bro, I'm not going to pay you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all the mentorship that I've learned. Anything that you need, I'm going to teach you how to level up, all this kind of stuff. Most people would not want to accept that. Like, oh, I want at least $300 a month or whatever. I was like, bro, like you have no experience, but come work with me and I'll teach you everything. And I hopped on calls with him we talked every day, but hopped on calls 3 days a week. Okay. He worked for me for free for 6 months. Okay. After that, I kind of went a different path. He went a different path. But then he would still call me. He's like, hey, DeAndre, what business should I start? Everything I'm sharing with you right now, I shared with him. Last month, he made 20 grand at 17 years old. When he came to me, he was not doing anything. He was learning video editing. Why? Because I told him, I will invest into you and I'll teach you all those things. Now, am I saying like I'm the best mentor? No, but I'm saying I've gathered some information where I can do that kind of stuff. And I'm doing that for other guys. Like I just hired Wes Watson, for those of you who know who that is. I spent $3 grand for 1 hour to hop on a call with him. And he liked me so much because I already come from a mindset space. And he's actually from San Diego. I don't know if you guys know that. And then he's like, bro, come out to the gym, which I already go to that gym anyways. I have a membership there. And we're gonna hit the gym. We're gonna go eat. We're gonna make a freaking movie. That's exactly what he said. And I'm gonna introduce you to everybody.
Yeah.
And like right there, is it worth it for me to spend $3 grand for a guy who's making $3 to $4 million a month to then infiltrate his circle, where now I'm hanging out with all these guys that are doing $10 million plus a year and all this kind of stuff. So obviously the ROI is clearly there. So in that case, I have to pay to play. When you get older sometimes, and these guys that are high up there, you got to pay to play. Yep. But for those of you that are young, still in high school, under 18 years old, go work for somebody that you want to learn. Go find the best video editor. Go do some work for free and watch how by the time you're 18 or 20, guys, there's no reason why you shouldn't be a millionaire by 21. I didn't make my first million until 24. Yeah. You know, I'm 28 now. So it's like I could have done it much faster, but I didn't have a mentor. I had YouTube University.
Yeah.
Now you have podcasts like this to listen to, you know?
And just keep educating yourself. Education is like free right now. It literally, yes, you can go absorb so much information from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube for free. And I don't think people actually realize how valuable it is. And like Wes Watson's circle, like that's worth billions. And people don't realize that.
There's levels to this, man. Wes will tell stories of like, okay, so you guys like when you go out with your friends and there's always that broke guy who doesn't pay his, or you got to pay his. Well, Wes has friends that he will post that he's at a restaurant and his friends will pay the bill and they're not even at the restaurant. They're like in some other state. Like imagine you have friends like that where like, for example, I'm here with Brady and we go eat out at a local restaurant and my network is so badass that they call into the restaurant, pay our bill just because they like us. Like that's the kind of network you want to develop, right? But I actually wanted to piggyback off private education. Now, there's two parts to it. And because I'm heavily into private education, it's actually a tech company I want to move into the future with because private education has changed my life. It's made me 7 figures, going to make me 10 figures, 8 figures, and so on and so forth. When it comes to this, there's two parts to it. Start with the free stuff, okay? YouTube University, courses, all that kind of stuff, okay? I'll be completely honest. I used to pirate courses back in the day, okay? Am I an advocate of that? No, because that goes into the second part now. When people pay, they pay attention. It wasn't until I started investing into myself and actually spending money that there's just kind of, first of all, free, just vibrationally, when you put what you put out comes back. Just always remember that you can cheat the laws of man, but you can't cheat the laws of the universe. Okay, so pay your mentor eventually. So start with the free stuff by searching. Go on YouTube, go on TikTok. But guys, let me tell you this: you will not build not even 6 figures. You will not build a 6-figure nor 7-figure business just watching TikToks and short form content. It's impossible. Yeah. Okay. All that is discovery. Discovering a new business model, discovering something. Then you move to mid form or long form, which would be on YouTube. Okay. YouTube is then where you can start learning a mentor, understanding his personality, understanding is he trustworthy. But then eventually the ultimate sign is going and hiring that mentor. Now, some people are afraid to invest. They're like, oh my gosh, what if I get scammed? What if I get this? First of all, it's part of the game. Make sure you do your own research, use your intuition, and look at these things. Have I been scammed before? I don't think so. Not directly from a course, right? Other ways, but not from a course, because I got pretty good at vetting these people. Okay, you guys can see through bullshit now. Like it's kind of there. Vet the things that they're doing. Okay, but you're gonna want to pay for mentorship. Why would you want to figure things out yourself when there's somebody ahead of you that's already done it that you can pay to compress time frames? Okay, so for example, the most I've ever earned in a month is $240,000 in a month. Okay, so if Wes or the guy I'm just hired, my new mentor that I just hired, is doing $3 to $4 million a month, wouldn't it make sense for me to spend a little bit of money for an hour of his time in coaching so he can get me to compress time frames to go to $1 million a month a lot faster? Yeah. Or should I sit here and figure this out because he's 40, I'm 28, or should I wait another 20 years to gather the same knowledge that he's gathered? See, you hire a mentor to compress time frames. Is the information out there? Yes, you can find it on YouTube, okay? Behind paywalls and people selling their own courses. The information is out there. But what you're paying for is to compress time frame and organization. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And that's what you're paying, and that's what can skyrocket you to the next level. So use the free stuff, the TikToks. We use a TikTok for discovery. Use midform to go out there and get educated about certain things and get deeper in research. But then when you really want to get to the next level, hire somebody. And when you hire somebody, I learned this from Ty Lopez, hire the best. Okay. So I'm in the coaching consulting space. The guys I've been hiring lately, they're making $250 a month, $100K a month in systems and operations. But then when I found out Wes, who's also in the coaching, is doing $3 to $4 million, that's unheard of. That's the top 1%, other than the Tony Robbins and stuff. And like, I'm not trying to be like the 1%, Tony Robbins guy. Like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But like, that's very small. That's like the top of the top, that's the Kobe Bryant of the industry. But for the average person or above average person, I don't like to say average, but like above average person that's in this space to be making that kind of money is saying that there's obviously a system and operation behind it. So I should go hire that guy. And that's exactly what I did. Find the guy, hire the best one. Go find out who he is and ask him how much he's making. When we're in business, a lot of people get afraid of asking about money. Like, ask them. Yeah. Like, hey, bro, and ask them, how much did you make last month? Yeah. If it's business talk, how much did your business do? 250K, 100K, whatever. And he's afraid to tell you. That's something. This is business that we're not asking his personal income. He should be able to tell you, especially if you're going to be hiring him. Yeah, for sure.
Figure out the facts. If the business is profitable, learn the systems or pay to learn the systems behind that business. Because if he's doing $4 million a month and he has the systems in place, that 3,000 for a single phone call
Doesn't even make sense.
It makes so much sense just to
I told him that.
do it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, you should be charging way more.
He makes
honestly.
60 grand a day.
Yeah.
And I'm on the call with him for an hour. He just loves doing it. Like, but anyways, we're not talking about so much Wes here, but I'm just talking about like the actual side of it. A lot of these times here's what happens when you start to get to like high level mentors. Okay. In certain people that are vibrationally aligned with just like consciousness of the world, is that here's what you guys will understand. I've had the nice cars. I've lived in the nicest building. Go look at the nicest building other than the Porsche Tower, like actually in that downtown Miami. I lived in that building. All my neighbors were multimillionaires. So I had the nicest cars, the nicest places, and there's points where I wasn't that happy. At the end of the day, you can get a lot of money, which is great. Get money, get rich. Trust me. It's way better. Life's like GTA. But it gets to a point where you get so wealthy that it's not the stuff that gets you excited. It's impacting other people. So when you're pouring into others. So when you find these mentors, they want to pour into people, especially if they start hitting their 40s and 50s. Like, they want to pass that information on because they get joy out of it. Mm-hmm. So if you can find one of these guys that would like to invest into you, most of the time you're going to have to pay. Okay. But just become a student and do as they say, and they're going to love you. People love when they give advice because they love to hear themselves talk, right? But then when you actually take action on it, they'll love you even more, and then you can get other perks from that mentor as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we were just at the 8-Figure Summit, and speaking of that, Paul Getter spoke, and his mentorship, he taught Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez, all those big guys who have made it, and paying for that type of mentorship because he was there. He taught the people that are now teaching you. And it's just completely worth it to invest in that type of education, especially for yourself. If you want to next level yourself, you have to pay to play, especially once you get past the discovery portion of it. Like, when I was at the discovery portion of it, I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to do a little research. And then I found people who are doing what I wanted to do. I invested in some knowledge, and I took my company to the next level.
Yep, that's always it, man. Just raising your level of consciousness,
Yeah, absolutely. After we got out of the elevator to this building, you were talking about the quantum leap. I want you to like go more in depth on it because it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, for sure, man. So everything started off, I guess, when I left to Miami. So I grew up here in San Diego. I left to Miami when I was 21 years old, 2018 now. So coming up on 6 or 7 years. And I left with $600. I quit my job. I had a job for like 3 months, longest I've ever had a job. Worked at CarMax. I said, "F this." I used to just play in the cars, all the AMGs and stuff. Like, I was not a good car salesman. So I left with $600. Landed in Miami. I didn't know anybody. I didn't even have a place to stay. I rented an Airbnb for $10 a night. Had 25 people in the spot, like in bunk beds, like in the garage, like in little the Cubans part of Miami. And I just drove there, and I just said, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to follow my dream. And so I landed there in Miami, and that's when I started my agency. And within two months, I was making $6,000 a month running my agency. At the time, I thought I was rich. I was going out, I was partying, just living Miami life. And then after 9 months, I would think about 10 months, I went completely broke. Broke with the meaning I slept in my car for 5 months when I was in Miami. Only had one client that was paying me $900 a month. Is actually the guy that does my tattoos. And I was living on $900 a month. What can you do with $900 a month in Miami? So after 5 months of sleeping in my car, that was one of the toughest times of my life. It's because I wasn't going to move back home. I proven to my grandparents that I was going to figure it out. Could I have gone home? Absolutely. And I couldn't even tell my grandparents, or they would have want me to go back home. But I said, I'm 21, 22. I'm going to figure this out. And I didn't quit. There was moments where you're going to cry. There's moments where I didn't eat 2 or 3 days. It was not that bad. Right? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Yeah. But I said I was going to figure it out. In that moment, I remember crying to God thinking, like, why am I going through this? But in hindsight, that's some of the things that were setting me up for some of the biggest wins in my life. So after 5 months of sleeping in my car, that's how I actually ended up in Medellin, Colombia. So I've lived in Colombia now for 6 years. So my life is kind of like 3 months Miami, 3 months Medellin. So I just kind of coming back and forth. So I went to Medellin, Colombia because I could live on $500 a month. Mm-hmm. I got an apartment out there, landed. I didn't speak any Spanish. I didn't know anybody. I landed in a foreign country, scared just because shit, all the videos looked like it was dope, so I was going to go out there. So I loved it, man. I was in Colombia. I went to I just did touristing, backpacking, hostels, and I just lived it up. Business wasn't going. I was probably living on $1,000 a month, but that's all right down there. So then it gets to a point now going into ending 2019, I went absolutely broke. I mean, my phone got wet after some jet skiing. my debit cards were like all gone, and I had to call my grandparents and say, Grandma, like, I'm done. Like, I need you to buy me a ticket and go back home. So then it's October 2019. I land here back in San Diego. I'm about to turn 24. I'm dead broke, and I'm just like, what is going on with my life? I had all the knowledge. I dropped out of college. What was going on? It's like, you could see that I was a hard worker. Look at the time I was running agencies, going door to door, but nothing was working. So then I had to start driving for Uber because I didn't know what to do at the time. So I'm driving for Uber, but what I would do during this period that changed my life is that on the left side of my ear, so the guests couldn't see, I would listen to different motivational speakers, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, these kind of guys. But it was this guy, Bob Proctor, that completely, like, the things that he were teaching were actually of substance, where versus Tony Robbins, I paid all these guys. But it was Bob Proctor that I was like, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about. And I remember him from the movie The Secret. And I started watching his YouTube videos. And he was promoting a seminar he was having in LA, which is only 2 hours from here. So I was like, you know what, let me buy a ticket and I'll go up there. So I saved $500 driving Uber, and I drive up to LA. I had $128 for that 3-day event. Guys, let me ask you, how big of a hotel can you get with $128 in LA? Nothing. So where are you going to sleep? In the car. So during those 3 days, I slept in my car in LA. And in that 3-day event completely changed my life. It was the first time that Bob said things about conscious mind, subconscious mind, frequency, vibrations, habits, self-image, all these things I didn't ever heard of. I thought it was just hard work. Yeah. Something in my intuition told me that I needed to work with that guy. So I stayed after the event and I said, you know what, let's learn about this. And they pitched me the opportunity to become a consultant, which is basically like a franchise. I would pay them a fee and then I would resell their program as a license. Okay. They wanted 30 grand. Do I have 30 grand sleeping in my car at this event? No. So I was like, okay, what's the minimum I could pay? They said 10 grand. I was like, I don't even like, but I knew I needed to work with him. Just my intuition. What first lesson I ever learned from Bob, guys, if you can remember this, it'll change your life. You don't need the money till you make a decision. Once you make a decision, then the money will appear. You want to buy a house, you want to buy your first supercar, you want to start that business. Once you make a decision, then the money will come. It will just appear. Until you make that decision, oh man, I want to start this business, but I don't have the 5 grand. Yeah, you don't need the 5 grand because you haven't decided. Once you decided, the money will always show up. First lesson I learned from Bob. Yeah. And I started thinking, what can I get the money? And my grandfather had helped me get a credit card because we were going to start an Amazon business. Mm-hmm. And so instead of asking for permission, I asked for forgiveness, and I put 5 grand on my grandpa's credit card. So, and then I split the rest of the payments of $3,500 a month for the rest of the year. So I want you guys to understand this situation. I'm using this for inspiration, guys. I was making $1,000 a month driving for Uber. I had 30 days to not only pay off the 5 grand down payment, but to pay them $3,500 a month just to keep access to the company, or I would lose access to everything. Yeah. Because I had to make my payment. So I just jumped in, just understanding mindset, conscious, boom, boom, boom. And I stopped everything and I jumped in. 45 days later, I was making $100K a month. Next month, I made $250,000. I just scaled it to 7 figures, and my life was never the same. Yeah. I just trained people. I was doing mindset. I was just living life. I ran seminars, in Miami and Dallas, clients all the way in Hong Kong. It just scaled my life. So guys, when you're going out there, investing, it's like, that's the only way I was able to do this. First of all, because I paid attention. Second thing, I bet on myself. You got to bet on yourself. If you're afraid, most of the time it's the foundation that you don't believe in yourself, that you're not betting on yourself. Start to bet on yourself. Bet on small things. Bet on the fact you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. Bet on the fact that you're going to go to the gym. Bet on the fact you're going to stop watching porn. But bet on these facts first, and then you can start doing the big things, like betting on the fact that you're going to go to this seminar or save a little bit of money. Then you can do the big things. Guys, before I could have bet I was going to do this 30-day transformation, I had to bet on myself first to even start a business, to even move to Miami with $600, to do this. For those big wins, you got to work and progress yourself up. So first start with your belief, then you can have those massive wins. And then, because how did I get to 100K a month? One of the first lessons Bob said was dream. This is the next part. After belief, you got to dream big. Yeah. So now Bob said, how much is the most you've ever earned? At the time, it was like 7 grand one time, but I usually average like 2 grand a month. He's like, how much do you want to earn? I said 10 grand. He's like, dream bigger. I said 30 grand. I didn't know anybody. My grandpa worked at the local hospital here in maintenance. Like, they made, like, my grandparents combined maybe 200 grand a year combined, probably less, like 120, 150. Yeah. So I didn't know anybody making 30 grand. And Bob said, do you think you can do 30 grand a month? And I said, yes, I think I can. He said, then you need to go bigger. You can't think you can do it. You have to be so big that it scares you. Because there's 3 types of goals. One is called an A-type goal. An A-type goal is a goal that you already know how to do. So if you're making $3,000 a month right now and you want to start a new business and get back to $3,000 a month, that would be considered an A-type goal because you already know how to do that. You already have the frequency of $3,000 a month. Then you have a B-type goal, which is what you think you can do. Is you gather all your knowledge, your contacts, your resources, your credit. You're thinking, based on all these physical resources, I think I can hit this goal. And that was me at $30K a month. He's like, you got to go even bigger. And I said, 100K. I don't know anybody making $100,000 a month. Like, that's insane. And that's what we would constitute as a C-type goal. A C-type goal is a fantasy, something so big, so grand that it scares the shit out of you. Why? Because when you think big, you act big. When you act big, you get big results. And you start doing things that you never would have done for that. And because I set that goal of $100,000 a month, instead of me going and try to do Instagram posts or run ads or do YouTube channels, I went immediately, because I had a big goal, immediately to the biggest influencers and contacts I had in my circle, which was Jason Stone, Millionaire Mentor. Yeah. I hit up Jason Stone. At that time, he had 7 million followers. I think he's like at 11 or something million now. So I hit up Jason. I was like, hey, Jason, I just started with Bob Proctor. Can I train you guys for free? He's like, bro, no way. I just got off a podcast with Bob Proctor. Absolutely. Come on in. Yeah. If I never would have dreamed big, I would have never gotten that frequency. Once you set the goal, all the frequencies and all the situations and circumstances start to manifest. He was waiting for me because I had set a big goal. I got on his podcast and boom, I made $100,000 in 17 days. Yeah. Like, it was just absolutely big. So I wanted to.
You just have to keep going.
You just got to keep going.
There's don't limit yourself to anything. Like, I had these dreams when I was like maybe 5. I was like, I want to drive the supercars. I want to get off of private jets. I want to do all these stuff. And I kept dreaming. I was like, nothing's going to ever happen if I just keep dreaming about it and keep thinking about it. You need to take action. And once I started taking action, I started seeing the results I wanted. Yeah. And we're not done yet. We're not even a quarter away.
Oh, man. I wish I was doing what you're doing at 18.
I was like, there's more in life. And we're just getting started. This is just the beginning. And people just need to do it. Yeah. Don't think about it, because your decision is already made up. Yeah. If you limit your mindset to stuff that you think you can't do, you can't do it. Yeah.
There's 2 worlds that we live in, guys, and this is me being like your uncle or your older brother right now. Right? There's 2 worlds that we live in. We live in a physical world, and we live in 3 planes. Okay, let's start there. Yeah. We live on 3 simultaneous planes of existence: spiritual, intellectual, and physical. Okay, spiritual being setting that's the fantasy, that's the spirit, that's the God that lives into you. That's that thing that says, "Oh, I should start a business." Oh, it's that deeper root part of you. Okay, it's infinite. It's all things connected, right? That's infinite source. So, for example, if you close your eyes right now and you think about that Ferrari or the Lamborghini, that image you can pull up, that's the spiritual part of you, right? It's infinite and it's immediate. Then that starts to transmute into something called your intellectual. That's where you start to build a blueprint in your mind. Well, if I wanted that Ferrari, then I would probably have to do X, Y, Z. That's where the intellectual part. That's what separates us from all dogs, birds, trees. We become creators because of our intellectual mind. Then we get into the physical world. Okay, so I'll focus on these 2 worlds: physical and the spiritual world, right? Which is your mind. When you're gonna go out there and you're gonna go try something, it's not just hard work and it's not just visualizing a mindset. You have to find the balance between the both. Now, I teach mindset. I'm still figuring it out. This is a lifelong game, but you got to do both, because you can go work 15-hour days, but if your mind and your self-image isn't right, you'll never earn it. Mm-hmm. What was the biggest difference? I was the same person that took me from 0. I was doing 0K a month, 0, and then 100K months. The only difference was my self-image. I was actually working less, earning 30K a day than I was earning 30K a year, because it's a shift in your spiritual world. You got to match the 2 and find the balance. So when you're going out there, don't just learn the ads and the tech and that, because if your self-image isn't aligned to it, you'll never earn it or you'll lose it. Jim Rohn says, if you ever win $1 million, you better become a millionaire. Yep. Meaning that you can get the money, but it's just as fast as it comes, it'll go. Look at all the history of all the lottery winners that they're broke within 7 years, because money is not it's a spiritual frequency and it's a habit. Okay. You use your mind to attract the money, but you use the physical disciplines to keep the money. Yeah. 2 different worlds. I had to learn this the hard way. I've made 7 figures. I've also lost $1 million. That's 2 different worlds. But hey, I had to get taught that thing, that there's 2 worlds that we live in. You can easily manifest the money, but then when you're out there and you're dating 10 girls a month like I used to date girls. Guys, I have no issues with girls. I used to date a lot of girls. But because I was distracted, girls, partying, drinking, all that kind of stuff, I was easy to make money. I make 3, 5, 10 grand a day. I was like, man, I make 10 grand today. Shit, let me go spend 2 grand on shoes. $1,000 shoes, right?
Yeah.
But then the disciplines to keep it. Those are two different worlds. For those of you that want to get rich that don't come from money, you got to learn the two of those.
Thank you for coming on. This was so insightful, and I hope everyone watching learned multiple things, because this is the type of knowledge that you can learn from YouTube, TikTok, and because that's where it's going to be. This is the knowledge that you should honestly pay for. So thank you, DeAndre, for coming on today.
Of course.
We appreciate you. And
awesome.
Brady Pearson, CEO on all platforms. And
yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at Miami Patron. Miami, like the city, and Patron. Patron doesn't mean tequila. Patron means Spanish. Sorry, boss in Spanish. So you can find me on YouTube, on Instagram at Miami Patron.
For sure. Go follow him and stay tuned for the next episode.
Let's do it.